Someone once told me the grass is much greener on the other side. I would like to.
I would like to take this time to welcome everyone that is listening to a Millennials POV. My name is Milton, also known as Hey Mill Hey 3. Um, with me, I have my best friends in the whole wide world, Denzel and David, and I'm going to let them tell you guys a little bit about themselves. David?
I am David, also known as D Rocka, DR0CKA on all social media platforms. Um, Denzel.
Hi, my name is Denzel. But
And
yeah,
that,
I'm here with my friends.
I guess we can go into telling everybody a little bit about
yeah.
ourselves.
We are three black men from the South who have decided to come together on this little weekly podcast to offer perspective, to vent, to, you know, allow this to be a space for whatever we need it to be in the moment. And we would love for you guys to take this ride with us and interact with us, educate us when need be, and just have fun from a millennial's point of view. My name is Milton. As I said before, I am a 32-year-old critical care nurse currently living in Mississippi. Um,
Okay.
and I think that's about all I'm going to share right now. I think I'll let everything else come out as we, um, go on with, go on with the podcast. Would you guys like to share anything about yourselves?
I'll go. Well, I'm 32 as well. I work in the auto industry. Been in that now for probably over a decade. And I live in Texas for now.
Okay. I am David or D Rocka. You know, people call me both. I am 31 years old. I am in the education industry or in the education field. Um, yeah, that's me. You'll get to know a lot more about me as we go on. I won't be so shy as the drinks start to flow.
All right, so let's tell everybody our sign. So I'll go first. I'm a Leo.
I, David, am an Aquarius.
I am Milton and I'm a Taurus. And this will as our friendship becomes more familiar with you guys, it'll become very evident of who is who. Like from the way we interact, from the things we have to say, from our perspective on things, it'll become very evident who is who in the friendship. But speaking of friendship, we are friends who have known each other. I've known Denzel for over 20 years. I've known David for over 12, 13, 14. I don't know years, but this is, a very, very long, very extensive, very, very deep friendship that runs between the three of us. Um, we've all met under different circumstances, but we have been through a lot with each other in life, highs and lows, good and bad, and we have managed to not kill each other in the process. So
Managed. Managed. Keyword on.
we just had the idea to come together and, um, create a space for the conversations that we want to have. And I guess we can kind of go on into the episode since we've gotten the introductions out of the way. Um, how How are you guys this week? How was your week?
Ooh, child. This week has been a week. Um, it's been well. To be honest with you, the time goes by a little quicker these days. I guess when you get up in age, time is not as slow as it used to be. But weather-wise, we've been up through hot, cold, ice, and everything else this week. But it's
Hmm.
been a productive week. How about you, Dave?
It's been a pretty cool week. As you guys know, I work in education, so we were actually on spring break this week. I had tons of plans on what I was gonna do, how I was gonna sleep, what I was gonna wear, and none of those things came to pass as I thought that they were. However, I found a lot of time to spend time with friends. I found a lot of time to just be with myself. I learned a lot about myself this week. I learned a lot about my body this week. And it's been a good time. I'm not looking forward to going back to work next week, but I have thoroughly enjoyed this week that has gone by extremely fast. I've enjoyed the time with myself. So I'm doing great to answer the question. I'm doing really well.
What about you, Milton?
Um, my week has been pretty chill for the most part. I worked the beginning of the week, um, which is fine because I really, really do enjoy work. Um, and I've just, been living in the moment. Y'all know I don't really just like to make a whole lot of plans and stuff. I just like to do what I feel in the moment. And, this particular week I felt like a lot of rest. So that's what I did. A lot of naps, a lot of binge watching television shows and stuff, and just being in my space and really, really enjoying being in my space. So that's what I did
What
this
you-
week.
I also had this week where I did a lot of little things where I had some goals that I had to do, and I did reach them and got some good feedback on them. So well, you guys know that I'm always still looking for different opportunities in the career field. So I've been doing a couple of things, and, getting a little feedback. So we're one step closer.
This is very, very true. I don't think you
I
ever
know
stop
that's
looking
right.
for something new, which I think is wonderful. But you just,
Never.
I don't know how you just do that. You're always looking for something new to do and to try, and a new opportunity to move into. I think it's great.
I'm trying to have the money. I need the money. Nah. But it's something I truly enjoy though.
Speaking of goals, what are um like the goals that you have, for yourself? I think we're all um kind of moving into unfamiliar territory in life, whether it be for me a career or what we aspire to be doing, or whether it be age, we're all in our early 30s, or what goals do you see yourself, what goals do you have for the podcast? This is a new podcast for all of us. This is a new venture for all of us. So aside from David, oh, aside from actually both of you are content creators. I'm the only one that's not a content creator thus far. So this is really new for me and not so much for y'all. But what goals do you have for this particular piece of content that we're creating as a group, David?
Um, Thank you for calling. Well, actually, overall, it just kind of falls in place with who I am and where I'm trying to go. Um, I am looking for a certain level of freedom, um, career wise and in life as a whole. And I think you guys hear me say that all the time, that I'm looking for freedom. I'm looking for freedom. And it's just the truth. When it comes down to career, um, I'm not unhappy with my career. However, I am looking for more freedom. I'm looking to be able to be more myself, and use who I am, um, to do what I need to do. I don't know if it's making money or if it's just to feel the way I want to feel. So I feel like that with content creation, I have newly been able to see money coming in from me doing what I like to do. With the podcast, I get to spend time with my friends. I get to have conversations that I feel like not only nourish me, but nourish my friendships as well. And kind of one of the reasons why this podcast was even curated was based on some of the conversations that we have had over the phone and how those conversations have healed us, how those conversations have built
Yes.
us up when we were down. And so this allows us to be able to share our experiences, not only with each other, but with other people who may be just now coming into the things that we've come into, or things like that. And I say this not lightly, but we have experienced a lot of life, and as friends, we talk about all the time how in our early 20s, we've done some of the things that people now in their 30s have just started to do. Um, and so, that's kind of where I am. I'm really looking for freedom. I'm looking for ways to still enjoy my life, but not be clocking in every day, 9 to 5. Like that's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I go to work. I don't mind working. I'm a hard worker. And I'm going to be the best at everything that I do. But I'm not happy with having to clock into a job every day. So sorry, I had to go all the way around the world to say that, but that's how I felt.
I mean, as long as you get to where you're going.
I know.
Mine's just gonna be very, very quick. I don't really know if I have like this big plan in the future for this podcast. I really just um enjoy having good, meaningful conversations. So I guess my goal for the podcast with that is that this will always be a space for that, to have good, meaningful, uh, boundary pushing and challenging conversations. Y'all know I love to talk. I love to have conversations. I love to ask questions about stuff that I don't understand. So um, I hope that through these conversations, um, people are provoked to think differently than they normally would. I hope I am provoked to think differently than I normally would. I hope I am challenged to see things from a different perspective than I normally would. And I hope I am better for it. That's pretty much all I got.
Well, my goals for this podcast is to spread awareness, let people know that are like us, and people that are not like us know that some of the things that they're going through, they're not alone, and just having good, meaningful conversations with my friends, and also to give that the 12-year-old version of me a voice, and discuss some of the things that the 12-year-old boy in me went through, just
Oh, I
because
love
I feel like
that.
I went through a lot. I think I went through a lot, and at my younger age, and not having like the proper people to talk to, like that understand me and stuff like that. So, we'll talk about some of those things as well, and just from this point of view right now, and like where we're at, what would have been
Yes.
the best thing for me at this
It's
point.
the unpacking for me. This shit is
Uh,
getting good.
You better be your own hero. You better go and rescue
I,
yourself.
I like that. Okay.
And as
I
far as
like that.
career wise, my goal is to stay in uncomfortable situations.
Mm. To stay
I
in
like
uncomfortable
that.
situations.
Yes.
Well,
I like that.
you
You know,
talking
when you get
today?
too okay, you know, when you get
Who
too
is?
comfortable, you lose a little of that drive. You're not as focused as
Absolutely.
you used to be because you're comfortable.
Hmm.
That is really, really
I need to know
interesting.
fat meat greasy.
I know that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Now, I don't know how many. I know this is not the first time you have filled this glass up, so you be careful with that. I don't know.
Yes.
I didn't. I didn't lost. I didn't lost count. I didn't lost count on what number it is, but I know it's not the first time. So
Well, I might as well fill up my tequila.
Don't use me as no excuse.
Well,
But
we
yeah.
not getting a check yet from this tequila brand, so I'm gonna keep that private for now.
Till the check
Waiting
clears.
on a sponsorship.
I know we had like questions and a certain plan that we kind of wanted to go, but I'm just going to kind of steer off the path and ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
What did we all think of each other? First impressions when we
Oh,
first met, like what was the thought process? And y'all are not gonna hurt my feelings. I am fully aware that most people do not like me when they first meet me. So it's okay.
Well, my first impression of Milton was exactly this verbatim. This bitch.
wow.
I don't even know. It was so long ago, but yeah, I mean, I just think like when we were younger in school and stuff like that. I mean, of course, Milton was, Milton Hamer. I mean, who else would he be? And Milton had
I
a
know that's right.
very open personality, like full of life. And sometimes that could be a lot for some people that are like shy. And at that point in time, I was shy, and Milton would come around, and I would mentally be pushing him down the steps, but he never do. But
Hmm.
Mentally.
he ended up being a good person though.
Mentally.
But nah, but that's how a lot of good friendships start. When people just don't be understanding folks and stuff like that, and when you really get to know that person, you end up being really good friends and stuff like that.
Yes, because
And
I'm
I don't,
fucking
David, I'm
awesome.
trying to figure out when was the first time I met you.
We met first. Milton invited you over
I was
to the
about to say, I
house.
think
I,
I think y'all met at my apartment first. Or was it your
mhm,
apartment,
we
David?
did.
It
We
was one of
met.
our apartments.
It was your apartment, Milton, and you had the gray Camry.
You did, Denzel.
And Milton said we had been hanging out at Milton's, or Milton had just got out of a relationship, I believe, and he had just moved to a new apartment in the same complex. And so I came over, and he said, one of my friends from school, from high school, is coming over. I've known him for a while. And then when I came over, you had just pulled up. So we happened to, I think, walk in at the same time. And we just hit it off. I remember us getting drunk, and we went to work.
If you go in the Milton house, that's what's happening.
That's what, baby. That's what's happening at my house.
That was all I remember from that. Like, that's how we met, and I knew that if he trusted you, that I could trust you based off of the relationship that Milton and I had, and it just kind of went from there. And I remember not too long after that, I decided I was going to move to Texas, and then you came out here like maybe what 2 months after that. It wasn't that long, and then you moved out here, and we just kind of clicked. We went from you coming over and us ordering Tiff Streets cookies,
Still trying to get them pounds off now.
developing a friendship, and then of course Milton. I met Milton in 2010 at Hines Community College in Raymond, Mississippi. And I remember that the dorm had this really, really small study area with a TV in there, and Milton was an RA, and he had happened to be working the desk that day, and I guess some people had really pissed him off that also worked there, and he was the leader. He's always been a leader, no matter what, and so he was the leader of the other RAs, whether he knew it or not. They did whatever he told them to do. And so I had noticed all that before I actually met him. Right, I was hanging with Milton's cousin. We had become really close, and then he introduced me to Milton. But two separate instances, right? So I'm gonna dig into this so y'all can see it vividly what I saw. So the first day that I met Milton, the first time I met Milton, I was sitting in that study area, and he happened to have had a bad day, and he walked through with a group of other people, and I was sitting there by myself, and I had my MacBook open. It was the MacBook when they still had the light on the back of it when you open it up. And he
Mm-hmm.
walked through, and he said, "Oh, I have the same MacBook," and he walked off. And I said, "This bitch." Instantly, I didn't like that hoe. Instantly. And so, I let it slide, but in my head, I was like, I don't like this motherfucker at all. Long story
Yeah.
short, one day, me and Milton's cousin and Milton's cousin's friend had went to Applebee's one day after class, and we had come back, and Milton was at the front desk, and so we stopped by the front desk, and Milton and his cousin were having a conversation, and I chimed in, and Milton looked, he stopped, and he said, "And who are you?" And I said, "This hoe want me to grab him." Like, he wanted me to grab him across this table, and I said, "Well, I'm introduced myself, and and his cousin introduced me, and it seems like ever since then we were attached at the hip. We used to always get tagged as brothers. If somebody was looking for me, they would call him. If somebody was looking for him, they would call me." And they'll be like, "Well, y'all are brothers," and I'm like, "No, we not. Like, we just met last week." Like, what are y'all talking about? And like, that's been what? That's been 13 years almost. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Milton is, or you guys both are people that I consider my brothers. We have different relationships. However, we can't live without each other. I know.
Yeah.
I know if I'm not being a good friend, that Denzel's going to tell me about it. And whether he knows it or not, I trust that whole my life. And when it comes down to Milton, we're just two peas in the pod, and even our parents say, y'all look alike now. Like, at this point, y'all look alike. And we've always just had this amazing relationship, um, that that holds no wrongdoing. If we mad at each other, we say we mad at each other, and we fix it, and we apologize, and we move on. We are still learning each other daily. Um, and sometimes I get in my way and I do my thing, and everybody be like, "All right, hey, what you doing? What you doing? Fix it so we can go on, move on with our life." And so I appreciate it about y'all. I do.
Denzel, I honestly, it's been so long since we've known each other. I can't remember a time where I didn't know you. So I don't even, I don't recall like a first meeting thing. Like as long as I remember being myself, I remember knowing you. I do remember that you were very, very shy, and I didn't like that. I don't like people being quiet around me, because and people have to learn this about me. However you feel, whatever you want to say, whatever it is that's inside of your head, if you can't say it to nobody else, I promise you can say it to me. I ain't gonna feel no type of way about it. It's not gonna be any judgment. We can talk about it if you want to talk about it. If you just want to get it out there and put a period on the end and let me know the conversation is over, I'm like, okay, so you want to get something to eat or like what? Um, And so that's what I didn't. It just I didn't understand. I think that's what kind of frustrates me about people being shy around me is because they really, really don't have to be. You really don't have to be shy around me at all.
They don't know it's a safe place.
Yeah, I am such a safe place. I do remember Denzel in high school having some of the neatest handwriting I have ever seen before. And even still to this day, I used to always envy him because he had the neatest handwriting. And
Really?
yes, I always wanted to have very I've always wanted to have very, very neat handwriting, and I didn't, which is why I went into the medical field because then I didn't need to. I remember this little incident we had our senior year that I'm not gonna get into. And I was like, what the hell is Denzel out there doing? But I'm not gonna get into all of that. That's gonna be too much time. And then David, like David said, we met in college, and I thought, and this is like I said earlier, this is when like the people will really see who we are in the friendship. I genuinely thought, and it was years later when David told me this, that it just completely shocked me. I thought I was being nice. Like I really, really, I really thought I was being nice to David, like for real. But maybe that's not how he saw it, or maybe I just don't know how to be nice. I don't know.
I may have just had my
I think that's what it was because I
heart up.
really think I was being. I thought I was being nice. You saw how I treated my cousin. I treated him like
Yeah.
dirt.
Hmm. And no lie, if Milton don't treat him like dirt, it's a problem. They will fight because it
Yeah,
seems like at this point we know Milton's personality. So if he's not being controversial or rude, you probably want to ask questions.
like what is going on? What are you going through? Do you want to talk about? But yeah, and that's I guess that's our very high functioning dysfunctional friendship.
Hmm.
It works. It works for us.
Also, we're all PK kids.
We are.
We're all
We are all
PKs.
PKs.
Oh,
And
God help us.
you may be able to tell that by our level of poise that we have. Certain things we just ain't going for. Um, what Mama Evelyn say? You want to go with the word? Some things about the word, but based off who we are, we have learned that um, it's so important to have your own relationship with God.
I just want to interject. At some point in a future episode, we are really gonna have to dive deep into how Miss Evelyn Braxton was her family's problem. We're gonna have to talk about that.
Mm. Oh,
Like she was the
uh-oh.
problem.
Listen,
And
we
we
can
can go
start
on.
something now.
We can go on. We can go on with that.
Listen, don't start.
It's kind of crazy because I feel like all our parents have the same kind of personality.
Hmm.
Crazy. Crazy.
Hmm.
And we just trying to survive them.
It was so weird because I grew up as a um in a single parent home as an only child with someone who is very, very much like myself. I'm a Taurus, my mom is a Taurus. So, and
Hmm.
it's now that I look back on it, it is compared to other people's upbringing and stories and stuff that I hear, it is such a weird dynamic. Like our house it was probably quieter than a library. There wasn't a
Hmm.
lot of talking, it wasn't a lot of yelling. I liked my space. My mom liked her space. We gave each other that space. Like we weren't you know, we were two people who really enjoyed being alone. Like we enjoyed our
Hmm.
time to ourselves without having to interact with anybody and just being present with our own thoughts. And
Mhm.
I just, it was just so weird growing up in our house. Like there would be hours and hours and hours in our house where we wouldn't see each other. We wouldn't talk to each other. She would be on her side of the house, I'll be on my side of the house, and we would just be in there chilling. Like unless we met up in the kitchen because we both, decided to get a snack at the same time, we wouldn't see each other.
Okay.
I loved it personally. I loved it. As a Taurus, I loved it. It was great for me.
That's kind of like how my house was a little bit. My older brother, he would normally be at work or football practice, so it would just be me and my mom at home until my
Hmm.
stepdaddy moved in, and most of the time he would go in there and go to sleep anyway, so it'd still be quiet. But me, I'd be in my room doing my little thing, chilling out, doing whatever, and everybody had that understanding. Like when you come home, like if you don't need me, go do your thing. Leave me alone.
Hmm. Go do your thing, baby.
We all had a hard day.
I think
Um,
growing up in my household, it was very. I'm not even gonna say structure. I had a number one, an amazing upbringing. Of course, I can remember Milton and I had this conversation the other day. I can remember the times when my family didn't have much. I can remember um, seeing my parents change as individuals from before salvation, after
yeah,
salvation.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I I remember them being having the woes of relationships, and I just remember them raising five children um, in a household that did not necessarily. We weren't birthed into the church, but as my father accepted the call to pastor and to minister, I remember just seeing my family evolve and how that evolution is today.
Won't he
Um,
do it?
yeah, he will do it. But I grew up in a very busy household. Of course, there were five siblings. Um, me being next to the youngest, we were basically all raised the same. Um, but for me, it was always a little bit weird. And we'll go into more detail later on, but it was just a little bit weird for me always because I was always in the center. Like I always knew both sides of everything, and just kind of watching and kind of, following. I mean, my parents were really, really good at being leaders and showing us how we should live and why we should live a certain way and things like that. But as I'm older, I look back on it and I realize why my parents did the things that they did. But I think we all can agree that you also learn how to unlearn some of the things that your parents teach you because your
Hmm.
parents are their main goal is to raise you right, and they do what they think is best. And we brought up a conversation about Iyanla earlier, but you have to be smart enough to know when your parents were just trying to survive, they were just trying to make sure they raised you right, they provided what they needed to provide for you, and you cannot fault them for mistakes they made or things that you don't necessarily agree with. And so I always make it a point to say my parents did an amazing job with what they had, because not only were they raising us, they were also raising themselves, because they wanted to be better. They wanted to be able to provide and lead a better life for their children. All of that to say, I think I had a great childhood. I think I had an amazing childhood, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And it just goes to show you that God does not make mistakes when you go through different avenues of life, good or bad. When you go through your ups, they're there for a reason. When you go through your downs, they're there for reasons, whether it be losing a job or breaking a leg or wrecking a car, all of those things work together to make you who you become as an adult. Um,
I think a lot of folks, well, a lot of kids grow up with the mentality that your parent is perfect because that's the person that's always been teaching you right from wrong. So they know everything. So when a parent mess up, it's such a big deal, or
mhm.
they teach you something, or they put you in a situation that's not productive, or nice for a child to be in. It's such a big issue. But a lot of people don't understand, like, as of right now, I'm a 32-year-old man. And at 32, my mama was going through the same thing that I'm going through with kids, though. So she's a human too. She's going to make mistakes. And I had to learn that too. And a lot of things that, even though I had a good upbringing, and my mama didn't do anything really, bad, but certain things did bother me. But I look at it now like, maybe she wasn't aware at that time or something like that. So I just, but I always know that she wants the best for me. So
I heard something years ago, and it was um, I can't remember exactly in what context I heard it, but it really always um, it gave me more perspective when I thought about parents, and it said that parents are a child's first representation of God.
hmm
Like, because you depend on your parent or parents for everything, until you mature, and if you are a person of faith and you learn that you depend on God for everything. But until then, like, you depend on your parents for everything. When you need food, your parents provide. When you need clothes, shelter, support, your parents are the ones that provide that for you. So, you know, somebody who is that powerful in your life and that crucial and vital to your survival, I think it is jarring when you realize that they're just people like you. They make, some of the same mistakes. They make different mistakes. They have done some things, that you probably necessarily wouldn't be proud of, that they're not proud of. So I think it's always a little. I know for me it was when I realized that my mom was, just a woman out here living her life, you know, to the best of her ability with the knowledge that she had. And, it was weird for me to realize that, because then I had to go back and kind of reevaluate my entire view of the world, because, that she was the lens that I kind of saw the world through.
hmm
So when she changed, the world
yeah.
changed. Everything changed for me. Um,
Mhm.
and speaking of parents, I do have a question. So, Denzel, with you and I growing up in a single parent household, and David, you growing up with two parents in the home, do you feel that seeing that on a daily basis has some, in some way, influenced how you view relationships? I mean, I know it has, but I guess my question is, how do you feel it has influenced your view on relationship? Or, if you're in a relationship, the relationship you're in now, like, how do you feel that, your upbringing and seeing a single parent or seeing a parent dating, like, how do you feel that influenced your views on relationships and dating and getting to know people? And what are your thoughts on that? Anybody chime in?
Um, I am going to say the first two ways that come to mind. I'll start with the first one. The first way that comes to mind is I feel that it influences the way that I feel about having relationships with people. I feel that I value relationships in a different way. I'm more willing to reconcile with people. Growing up in a two-parent household, it made me value relationships a little bit more. Now, as far as romantic relationships, I don't know how I feel about romantic relationships.
I like that. I really, really do like that. Denzel, what about you? From even though we both grew up in single parent household with single moms, I'm pretty sure our experiences are different.
It's kind of complicated because, like, when I first was born, I think like up the first 10 years or whatnot. I think my stepdaddy moved in with us when I was like 12 or 13. Before that point, him and my mom were dating since I was 3, but he never stayed in the house with us. So, it was basically still a single parent household. Watching my mom growing up, being a single parent, and seeing the things that she was going through, nobody's there to help her, you know, give her a break, with raising us and making sure the bills were taken care of, making sure that, we're doing what we're supposed to be doing as, kids in school and being raised right. It was a lot on her. So seeing that made my dating life not trust nobody, and not in a bad way. It just made me very self protective of myself and also always making sure that I'm in a position where I'm going to be okay regardless of what happens in a relationship. But then I see the other side, which is once my stepdaddy moved in and how a man is supposed to treat a woman, a relationship period, like he would take care of things. My mom, it wasn't all on my mom. He would raise us as well as his own kids and stuff like that. So that part made me want to be in a relationship. But I think with me, I'm battling between both because I want to be in a relationship, but I do have trouble letting people in and giving some of that, responsibility and trust away to another person because I always feel like something else is going to happen. Like they're going to try to, fuck up or something like that. And I'm always in a position of where I want to make sure I'm going to be all right at the end of the day. And it's kind of hard going into a relationship with that mind frame.
Yeah, that's true. I do want you to keep in mind though that because it was something that you said kind of along the lines that you're kind of something about people fucking up or something like that. People fuck up.
Yeah,
That's what we do.
true.
That's just we everybody's gonna fuck up at some point or another. That's just what we do. Is that part of it is just you can't prepare for that. It's just something that's gonna happen. But I do completely agree with you about being very self protective. I think watching my mom grow up and watching her be just this independent like go getter. Like my mom is such a boss. Like she is such a boss to me to be able to, take what she was given in the circumstances that she had to endure and to turn it into, what she has now. My mom is, in her early 50s, already retired, never going to work again because that's just the life that she wanted. That's what she planned for herself. That's what she was able to produce and, what she was able to create for herself. Like we talk a lot about, especially on these new career paths that I know for me I've embarked on about creating this life for yourself. And I've really watched my mom create this life for herself coming from much, much less than what we have now, or what she has now. I mean, not say we, but what she has now. And, she's really created this life of convenience and being comfortable for herself. Watching her do it pretty much alone I feel like it instilled in me a a huge sense of independence that has not always worked well for me because I've always felt like whatever it is that I need to do, want to do, have to do, I was going to do it alone. Like I didn't need anybody. And I had this conversation with David, and it made me feel like I was so ostracized and disconnected from everybody. But it was really just me doing it to myself because I felt like I didn't need anybody, so I didn't look for anybody to be there and to support me and all this other stuff. So when I didn't get it, it's almost like I made it seem like they were doing it on purpose, but it wasn't. It was me. And and that has been kind of difficult. Sometimes it's difficult to see or to be able to put yourself in a partnership when you're so used to doing everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And then, like Denzel said, on the opposite side of that, when my mom met my stepdad and I really saw their union and their partnership and what they were able to build together, it made me long for something like that, like a partnership and being able to build and construct this life together and not feel like I have to do everything alone, somebody to share the brunt of this responsibility. So I'm honestly still working through that whole notion because sometimes still very much get in my own way and feel like I have to do everything alone. And I really think it boils down to like a trust issue because, that whole I'll do it myself and I'll just, that is, they say that's a response to trauma, a response to being let down. So,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm still working through it. I'm still trying to figure it out.
But that's also interesting to hear how we all three went back to being very self-sufficient, and how even though as a younger person I felt a kind of way about my parents not being there, and it caused me to just kind of start doing things on my own. But now as an adult, finding my way through that, and you understand that so many things just happen for a reason, like for whatever reason that it may have been. And I think that we turned out pretty damn
No, I
good.
know I
I
did.
mean, when I look at us and I look at what we have accomplished and the things that we've done, I can honestly say that none of it killed us. And I think that the specific and different upbringings, God is so amazing the way that He does things, and it didn't kill us. Like, it really made us who we needed to be, and it was tailored. Regardless of what happened, like, our life was tailored for us to be who we are. And for this moment right now, like, all those things were set up and done in a certain way, because who's to say that if you guys would have grown up in a double parent household, or if I would have grown up in a single parent household, that we would be able to stand here today and be who we are.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Because I have a lot of procrastinating ways about me that could have been my downfall had it been something different, had it been another way. And so I think that just based on personality and based on how we saw different things is why, we are who we are. Because I mean, when I look at my siblings, their view of it may be completely different. And even though we were all raised the same way in the same household, we saw things differently. For us specifically, we were able to see things and maneuver, see things and make a choice on who we're going to be and how are we going to deal with those
And
situations.
speaking of that, seeing things, I got a question for you all. So growing up, we see our parents, we see the other adults in our life, like uncles, aunts, and family friends. What is one thing that you can think of that you saw that your parents and aunts and uncles did that you decided that you were not going to do, and did it a different way?
Be broke.
Ooh.
And I'm not saying that like be broke like they just didn't have money because my family has done well for themselves. They have just not been smart with money. They have been very, very reckless, very, very materialistic way of looking at money, just as a means to get things. just worthless materialistic things. And so and trying to live a certain type of way because they're worried about what people think, trying to put on this facade that they can't afford,
Yeah.
that type of stuff. That when I say be broke, I mean that type of stuff. Like, because y'all know I drove the same car for over 10 years, didn't feel no type of way about it because I didn't want a car note.
Mhm.
Because I would rather pay myself that $300-400 a month and than to pay Toyota Financial. Like I just didn't care about stuff like that. So that was something that I know I saw, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm not, because when I want to pack up and come to Dallas, that's what I want to do. When I want to, jump on the flight and be like, hey y'all, let's go to DC. That's what I want to do. Like, I would rather see my money do that type of stuff for me than to have Denali sitting outside of a income based apartment. I didn't want to do stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that was one thing for me. I didn't want to be broke.
My family, the people in my family, like my aunts, my uncle, my mother, they showed me and then the rest of the, my generation of kids that, get up, you go to work and you work, and, you work for the things that you want. But what I didn't like is that a lot of them, including my mom, I don't feel like they lived up to their full potential. And what I mean by that is like exploring outside of the small town that we grew up in and the surrounding areas. Like, so I made sure that I was going to, not saying that I was going to be going like to Rome and Italy and all that crap, but hopefully I
I
do
mean,
one
we
day.
are, we just not yet. We going.
I wanted to make sure that I was able to see the world outside of that small area of where my family was raised up in. Noted, they made good lives for themselves in that area, but I feel like if they ventured out a little bit more, they would have got a lot more in return. And a lot of them, like when me and my brother moved out from that area, and a lot of them started venturing out then because like I guess we opened the gate for them. Like they were so scared because they grew up in a life of the mentality of you get a job, you stay at that job, no matter how much they pay, you stay at that job. If they give you a check every week, you stay at it. That ain't me. You can give me a check every day of the week and I'll be gone by Friday.
Hmm. I get that. So, how do you guys feel?
I feel really, really good. I feel like we got to learn a lot about each other. I think that we got to really say some things that we had not necessarily been able to say before, or did not necessarily have the space to say it before. I'm definitely thankful to be a millennial and have experienced life the way that we have in order to endure where we are as a society now.
I feel good. I mean, I feel like we learned a lot, and I feel like in some of these episodes, especially going forward, we're going to be surprised at some of the things that we
Hmm.
say, and that
Yeah,
because those are things that we have probably been wanting to say, but we just never had the space or the courage or even just known the time or the place to say it. So it's just when you really get into a deep conversation like that, you start thinking about stuff and stuff starts appearing. And I feel good about it though.
I feel good. I'm excited to see where this goes, and I'm excited for the conversations that we're going to have. And I do want to say that with this being our very first episode, I'm very, very proud of you guys. I'm proud of us that we were able to come and execute the vision that we had.
Yeah.
So, like,
Mhm.
I honestly, I really, I really feel like everyone did very, very well in expressing themselves, and I am proud. I am proud. So before we go, is there anything that you guys um want to leave with the listeners? Anything, just a tidbit and encouragement? Anything to look forward to next episode? Any announcements of about anything that you guys have going on that you would like people to know about?
I would just say definitely reach out to our social media outlets and just put questions out there. If you have questions about us, questions or comments about anything that we have talked about, put them out there. We want to hear them. There's something that we deem worthy to put on the show or to bring into the forefront, we will definitely do so.
With me, I would like to leave a little word of encouragement for the listeners. One day at a time, and that's all we can do. And if you do your best in that one day, then the next day might be a little bit better.
All right.
I just want to say that I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. And I hope that you will stick with us wherever you're listening to. Please subscribe. And like David said, please interact with us. We really want to hear from you guys, and we really want to know what we can do to make this podcast reach its full potential. And we thank you guys for listening. We'll talk to you soon.